I love reading books that are written from multiple points of view. It's so cool to get inside the heads of different characters, to see the world from their perspective, and to see how they're interacting with the story. But as a writer, how do you write a book with multiple points of view? How do you keep everything organized and make sure you're tying all the storylines together? It can be a great challenge, but thankfully, Scrivener is great to help with planning out a novel in this way. And on today's video, I'm going to show you how I use Scrivener to outline and ultimately write novels with multiple points of view. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome in. I am so glad you've joined today. Today on this video, I'm going to show you how I use Scrivener to draft and outline books with multiple points of view. This can be a huge challenge, but I love reading books that are written from these different perspectives, and I think it's been a lot of fun to write them as well. So I'm going to show you how Scrivener makes this easy. It helps me stay organized, and there's lots of cool functionality, but this is just one of the many examples of why I love Scrivener, and I hope you do too. So on a recent video, I shared why I use and love Scrivener. There's really three main reasons. The first is because it has amazing features. Number two, it's got a great price model. And number three, they actually have a really cool trial that you can test out before you buy it. So go check out that video if you want more high level on why I love Scrivener. But today we're diving into one of the cool features, which is using labels to write an outline from multiple points of view. Before we jump in, if you need help writing your novel, whether you are using Scrivener or some other tool, I created a free guide that can help. It's called 30K in 30 Days, and it is a self-guided PDF that's going to walk you through a 4-week writing challenge where you will set a goal, you'll track your progress, and you'll make big progress on your novel, up to 30,000 words or more in a month, while also building in intentional time for rest and days off, which I think are critically important for any writer. So go check that out. It's at pages.tcburr.com. It is my gift to you. I hope you get as much value out of this guide as I have. All right. Other side note, if you're listening on podcast platforms, I love you. I'm so glad you're here. I want to encourage you. You may listen on podcasts. I hope you enjoy and get value out of this podcast, but I want to encourage you, go check out my YouTube channel. It's at TC Burr. This is where you're going to be able to really get the goodness out of episodes like this one, where I'm actually doing some screen share, walking you through things on screen. So again, go to youtube.com/TC Burr and you can find that there. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well, but would love to have you join on YouTube to follow along with what we're doing here for this demo. All right. Let's jump into it. I'm going to share my screen and we'll get right into Scrivener. Okay, so I just jumped into Scrivener. I've created kind of a dummy file that I use for demo purposes, but imagine this is your book that you've created. I am here in outliner mode. There's a few main modes in Scrivener. One is kind of this scrivenings mode where you're drafting your story, the Corkboard, which we'll look at briefly today. But for most of the time today, we're going to be in outliner mode. This is what it sounds like. This is where you start creating the outline for your story. And so I've already pre-populated some information in here just for the sake of the demo. This is not a real story. This is just something I kind of created off the cuff as an example. But what I want you to see first, right off the bat, I've got a couple of columns here that I've pulled in. The first is title and synopsis, which is obviously the chapter title and a little blurb about what is in that chapter. And then I've also included this field called label. This is where you really get into using multiple points of view and kind of tracking what perspective you're writing from in that part of the story. So once I create a new scene, I'm going to add a label over here. And the way I do that is just by clicking these arrows. And you can see there's a list of pre-populated labels here. These start off as just colors, but you can make edits to these as well. So you can see for this example, I've created red for Ralph, green for George, and blue for Bob. That kind of alliteration is helpful for me. And so maybe you could do something like that. You can do whatever you want, whatever color you want. And you can add as many of these as you like. So right now you can see I've attributed this first scene to Ralph, the second one to George, the third one to Bob. And you can do this for every scene. So I'm going to go through and select a couple more. And let's say I get down here and I realize, you know what? I actually want a fourth point of view. I can make that change too. So I can click edit here. And let's say for this one, I'm going to change, instead of purple, I'm going to call him Paul. And so now I can, when I click on this, you'll see Paul is a selection in the dropdown. So I'm just adding these labels for each of the scenes in my book. And when I do this, what you'll see is that you've got a very quick visual now to see, based on the color, here are these different scenes. So this scene, for example, would be written from Ralph's point of view. This one here would be written from George's point of view, and etc. So this is just super helpful. And later on, when you go to draft your story, you'll be able to filter and view these. If you, for example, just want to see George's storyline, you can filter and do that way. And you can write them kind of sequentially, where you're jumping back and forth from different character points of view. Lots of books are written this way. These are some of my favorite books to read, and so it's a lot of fun to write, but it's nice to also have a cohesive story based on that character's point of view. A couple things I want to show you here with this as well. So right now you can see there's a quick visual, these little circles that show you which color. You can quickly identify that character's point of view. But there's actually what I consider is even better way to do this. And so to get that, you would go to View, and you would go down to this Use Label Color In option and click on Outliner Rows. And when I do that, you'll see now the whole line in the whole row is going to be highlighted with that color, which again just gives you a quick visual when you come in and look, and you can see, okay, great, now I see how many are for Bob and Paul and etc. One of the things you may also notice when you build out your entire outline is you might notice that you have a character that doesn't have very many scenes at all. And maybe that might signal to you as the author that maybe that person doesn't deserve an entire perspective for this book. Maybe they're just a side character. You can make changes that way. So super helpful in that regard. Another thing I want to show you is the corkboard. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the corkboard in this video. I'll set that up for a future video. But to get there, you would click on this little orange grid, and you can see each of those scenes is represented as a card here. This is a great tool for outlining. I don't know if you're a sticky notes person like I am, but this is kind of the systematic technical version of sticky notes. I love using the corkboard, spend a ton of time here. And this just arranges them as like, sticky notes on a table. But one of the cool things that you can do is actually change the view to see storyline by character point of view. So to get there, you would go to View, and since we're in the corkboard options, and then go down to see arrange by label. When you do this, you'll see these labels are kind of represented here as columns. And so each of these, remember, is a character point of view for this example. So if you follow this green line, for example, you can see George's storyline going through. And you'll also be able to see where that fits in the sequence of your outline. So again, this is super helpful when you're going to draft, because not only can you see the sequence of all your scenes and how they interact with one another, but you can focus on just one character's point of view and make sure they have a cohesive story that stays connected. So I love this view. Right now I'm showing it presented in columns, but if you want to change that, you would go again to View, Corkboard Options, and then Arrange by Label Layout in rows. So this is going to do the same thing, but it's going to present it kind of in this horizontal left to right mode, which some writers prefer. So again, hopefully this was helpful. This has been really great for me, writing in multiple points of view, and I think it will be for you as well. So that's it today. Hopefully this was helpful in showing you how to outline your book using Scrivener with multiple character points of view. Hey, listen, if you use Scrivener, drop a comment below. Let me know what are some of your favorite features, and maybe there's something you want to know, a question you want to ask, or a demo that you want to see of the Scrivener software. Drop it in a comment below. I'd love to consider it for a future video. That's it for today. Hey, until next time, keep writing, and I'll talk to you soon. Later.